I'm Sucker Herd, and this is my video quiz 2 on chapters 4 through 7. So, chapter 4, some of the key ideas that stood out to me was connecting with your audience. You actually need to have a connection with them and not just go up there, spew things out, and not really have any meaning behind it. You actually need to mean what you're saying. Chapter 5 was a purpose. You always need to have a purpose behind your speech, because if you're not interested in it, then odds are your audience won't be interested in it either. So you always need to have a really good purpose behind your speech, just to make sure that you actually have meaning behind it. Chapter 6 was about just being brief. That was what stood out to me, was you don't want to go up there and just drag on and just kind of keep your audience captive. You actually want them to be interested in what you're talking about, so you kind of keep it short and sweet. Chapter 7 was you actually need to use outside sources. I know me personally, I mean, normally I'll get my information from the internet, but I haven't really thought about it. But with speeches and things, you can actually go to the library. There's so much information that's there that, you can actually get so much information just from other places besides the internet. And things I learned from these chapters were chapter 4 was actually that as we age, our focus and concerns actually change with it. I mean, it's not really something that you really ever think about, but looking back on it 10 years ago, my concerns were a lot different from what they are now. Chapter 5 was you need to be interested in the topic, because it kind of goes back to what I was saying about just if you don't have any meaning behind it, then odds are your audience won't be captivated by it and they won't really care either. So you always need to have meaning behind your speech. Chapter 6 was only you can see your notes. So if there's like a part in your speech where you really struggle, then you can kind of give yourself a little hint on your note card or whatever you're using, just to kind of help breeze through it. Just remind yourself, all right, this is the tricky part. Might need to have a little more focus here. That way I can get through this. Chapter 7 was actually the fact that you can use the librarians. I mean, I haven't really talked to the librarians much at all this year, but I mean, after reading that, I mean, if you ever need help with anything, you can always go talk to them. I mean, from what I've talked to them about, I mean, they're really friendly. They actually want to help. So it's a great outside source that you can use to get more information. Number 3 was about why are these things important. So chapter 4, you need to know who you're talking to. So it goes back to the whole age thing. So if you're talking to, some little kids, you're not going to want to use huge vocabulary. You're going to want to keep it small. That way they can actually comprehend what you're saying. And you need to connect with them. So it goes back to the being interested in your topic. That way you can kind of share a connection with them and get the full effect they'll take the full effect from your speech. Chapter 5 was you need to have meaning behind it and be genuine. You don't want to get up there, again, and just spew things out. You want to have meaning behind it. That way they're interested. Chapter 6 was better help prepare you for the speech. So with those note cards and things, it actually, you don't really think about it when you're looking at them, but it really does. You just keep looking at them, and it just kind of gets easier and easier every time that you go through it. Chapter 7 was about the sources. So you want to have a wide variety of information and where you get it from. That way you can be more credible. So if you just get all your information from one website and that isn't a credible source, then that kind of destroys the whole speech because it's not very credible. And number 4 was about how these things can be used in your personal and professional life. So chapter 4 goes back to the whole connecting. Like, whenever you're in a career, you obviously need to connect with your coworkers, just because whenever you're in a career, you probably see them more than you see your own family. Like, it's crazy to think about, but odds are you're probably going to be with them at least 8 hours of the day. It's honestly really crazy. Chapter 5 was you need to be interested in your own things. So don't just try and, pick topics where everyone else is interested, but be yourself and pick things that mean a lot to you personally. Chapter 6 was, you don't need to drag on, keep it brief, short and sweet. That way you're not keeping them hostage and they don't have to listen to things that aren't really necessary. So just be meaningful when you do it. Keep it short and sweet. That way everyone is happy. Chapter 7 was you can't always use the internet. So say you're in a career and you have to give a speech on your quarterly reports or whatever, so you're going to have to use other information. That's not something you can kind of go on the internet and get. You would have to know the information, be able to format it in a way that you understand it yourself and also other people. So you just always need to have a wide variety of information and where you get it from and make sure it's really credible. And that pretty much sums it up, and thank you for listening.